Hi there, this is Jeanette for Whimsy Stamps. Today I want to share with you how to create a Joyfold card. Back when I first started card making, this was a type of card that I used to love to make, and I've fallen back in love with this card style. You can see that although it's the same size as an A2 card, it is a little bit different, a little bit more unique. There are different panels, so you can add like a few more sentiments, a few more embellishments, and different pattern papers. So it's really a fun card style to have in your repertoire. So I created a sympathy card and a birthday card, and I'm going to be sharing with you how I created the birthday card. The sympathy card was made in the exact same way. The paper I used is Whimsy's digital butterfly breeze paper. So I printed 3 of the papers from that collection, and you can see with that when the card closes up, the 3 of them go so nicely together. The butterflies are from this vintage birthday frame set, and the die cut words are from the Sympathy and Heartfelt Condolences word die set. So that is for the sympathy card. For the second card, I'm using Whimsy's At the Beach digital paper. Again, I just printed 3 of the papers from the collection. So I have my piece of cardstock here. I'm going to take that 8.5 inch side and just rotate it and then cut at 4 1/4. Then I'm going to take this piece and cut it at 3, rotate it, and cut it at 8. Now all these measurements are going to be shown right after the cutting, so you don't have to write them down, they'll be there for you. So now I'm taking the pattern paper and I'm just going to trim off these white areas so that I can cut accurately. So this piece I'm cutting at 5 1/4. Then I'm going to rotate it and cut it at 4. The next piece I am going to again trim. I am going to cut it at 2 3/4 and then at 4. And then the last piece of pattern paper, I did trim 3 sides because there was a specific piece of the pattern paper that I wanted to include in my card. So this was how I was able to ensure that it was going to be included. So cutting that at 3 3/4 by 2 3/4. And that's all the cutting that we have to do. Here are the measurements for you. So you can change it up if you want. Just make sure that the pattern paper is always 1/4 inch smaller on each side. So now this larger piece will be the bottom card base. I'm going to score that at 5 1/2. And the smaller piece I'm scoring at 4. So you can see a little bit how this is going to go together now. I am going to adhere this larger piece to the bottom card base. And then the stripe piece is going to be on the front part here. Now for the smaller one here, before I adhere it down, I am going to heat emboss everything. So I did already cut out the die cut words, the happy and the birthday. I used some pretty sort of metallic sheen white paper. And I am going to be embossing some butterflies on that piece, and then on the inside panel here on this piece I am going to be taking this large frame from the vintage birthday frames, and I'm going to emboss that right on the inside. So I'm just positioning everything right now to make sure it looks nice, and I will zoom in for you and we will get to embossing. So I am going to pick up that big frame with my block, and then I'm going to take an anti-static powder tool and sort of brush that over top. I'm going to brush it over the area where the butterflies are going to be as well. I'm keeping the happy and the birthday there so that I have a good idea where I want to stamp the butterflies. Then I'm inking the stamps up with Versamark ink, making sure I have the stamp the right way, it's not upside down, and then I'm pressing it firmly and making sure that everything is pressed down nicely so that I get a nice even stamping. I could have used my Misty as well for that, but I don't know why I didn't. I guess I was too lazy to pull out my Misty. And now I'm just stamping the two butterflies. They're two different ones. And now I can sprinkle the embossing powder over top. I'm using Wow metallic gold embossing powder. It's a very nice gold. It's not too yellow. I thought it really fit the style of the card. And just make sure that you don't have any stray powder anywhere. I'm going to just sprinkle it over top this one as well. I tap off the excess, and I did see that there was a certain area that didn't have enough powder, so I sprinkled a little bit more on top, tapped off the excess, and I can then just pour the remaining powder back into the little jar. So I'll just take them off to the side now, and I'm going to use my heat gun to melt the embossing powder. You can see how pretty that looks when it's all done. So now I can just go ahead and adhere this on to the front, and just make sure that the card opens the opposite direction than the bottom one. And now I'm going to adhere it to the larger card base. And I had some trouble with this one. The first one I did that was off camera, no problem at all. But of course I'm filming this, so I did end up having to pull it up, and I was really lucky I didn't tear any paper. And I realized it was easier to position it with the card base on the bottom open, just to make sure everything lined up nicely. So now I can go ahead and adhere my die cut words. I'm just using my craft knife right now to just poke out any excess cardstock. And I will position them where I want them. I'm going to put the embossing powder on top here just to hold it down. I like to have the other word positioned so that it's easier to position the second one that I'm actually gluing down. That way everything ends up exactly where I want it to be. And I did use a pair of tweezers to sort of grab onto the sentiment, and then it was easier to place it down. Position it, and then I will take a mounting block, just put it over top, and that just holds everything down while it dries. And now I can do the second word, which is the happy. I'm going to do the exact same thing with the zig glue. And although it's blue, when it's wet, when it dries, it's clear, so that's why I like using it. And then I thought, just to make it a little bit more sort of special, I would add a few adhesive pearls. So I'm just adding some white pearls in a couple of different sizes, just a few of them, not too many, and that just gives a little extra something to the card, and it doesn't add any bulk really, so that you can still stick that in a standard envelope. So that's my card done. I hope you've enjoyed watching me create this card style, and I hope it encourages you to try out a Joyfold card yourself. Thanks so much for watching. A full list of supplies will be found below this video on YouTube, or you can find them on my blog. Thanks so much for watching.